And now it is my pleasure to welcome back Sue Becklenberg, President of the PATH International Board of Trustees.
Welcome, everybody, to our second virtual annual meeting and awards ceremony. I've got to admit, I am really disappointed. Some would say I'm being a little cranky about it, that we're still not able to be meeting and celebrating all this in person. The annual conference and celebration is something I look forward to all year long. I know many of you do too. And I miss so much being able to do this all in person. However, we have all gotten really, really good at using electronics to get our business done. And at least this way we can be together to celebrate all the accomplishments that we've had this year. So the meeting is hereby officially called to order. And we will start our meeting with the approval of last year's minutes. In order to accomplish that, I would like to introduce the Secretary of the Board of Trustees, Robin Kruger. Robin?
So, hello, everyone. Welcome to the annual meeting. I just want to announce that minutes were distributed by email, and as Sue mentioned, they can also be found in the documents section of the webinar. And at this time, I'd like to ask if there are any changes or corrections to the minutes. And if so, could you please put your questions in the pop-up or in the comments section of the webinar so that we can take note of those. So Hannah, have there been any corrections noted in the notes?
I am not seeing any currently.
Okay, great. Not having received any corrections or changes, I'd like to make a motion that the minutes be accepted as proposed. Is there a second?
Brandon will second.
Hannah. Okay, great, thank you. And Marcia, could you now put up the polling poll for the acceptance of the minutes so that folks can vote on the minutes? Thank you. And while we're voting, just a quick reminder that we have an honor system. Technically, only members can vote. And Marcia, as soon as you have the results, please go ahead and post those.
We have a 56% voted out of 166 attendees.
Okay, did we have 100 positive votes? I can't do the math in my head.
We don't need 100 positive votes. We needed 100 people to vote. Marcia.
Thanks, Kathy.
It was 92 people.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Darn it.
Okay, well, thank you all for participating in this part of the process. It appears that the minutes have been, oh, yes, I was just going to hand it back to you, Sue.
No, well, I just wanted to point out that the organizers and those that are us on the panel are not able to vote. So I would say you probably have achieved your 100 people because we can't hit the poll, so the board members were not able to vote.
Good call. Would board members please raise your hand if you approve the minutes? And Candace, I know will duly note it. Fantastic. The minutes have been approved.
Okay, great. Thank you all for your participation, and I will hand it back over to Sue to lead the rest of the meeting.
Okay. Did I unmute? Yes. So for the President's report, we have had another really great year. I'd like to give really special recognition and kudos to the Membership Outreach Committee this year and their regional leadership teams for the incredible work that they have done. In spite of all the various restrictions still in place across the country, these teams volunteered more than 3,200 hours of their time connecting with 3,827 members and centers. They held 40 state meetings with a total of 651 attendees. And they represented PATH International at 21 events attended by over 9,500 individuals. Thank you to the MOC and their teams so much for your time, your effort, and your dedication to PATH International. Other notable accomplishments this year: COVID-19 support from the PATH International staff. They made supporting our membership and credentialed professionals through the pandemic a top priority. Regular bulletins were published with timely and relevant information, and free webinars on topics intended to help navigate the ongoing situation were provided. All of those free resources are still available on the website. Just click on the COVID-19 button. We have continued with the Path Forward, a bulletin to help everyone navigate the ongoing impact of the pandemic. Policies were modified in response to both the financial and social distancing requirements. And this includes available payment plans, deferred accreditation for centers, and video submission acceptance for instructor applicants. As demonstrated by our opening panel discussion, the Board of Trustees and PATH International staff have undertaken the work to ensure that our policies, procedures, and internal organizational cultures reflect the values that we hold for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've established a working group to advise and recommend actions to the board, and the board has actively undertaken measures to educate ourselves and establish a vision of how PATH International can be a leader for diversity, equity, and inclusion within the equine assisted services industry. Ed Milford has been chairing this work group and will be reporting on their work as well as sharing the DEI vision and goals later in this meeting. You will also hear from Ed as our treasurer and president-elect about the specific financial condition of the association. I just want to touch on the point that through the responsible stewardship of the PATH International staff under the leadership of CEO Kathy Elm, we remain financially stable as we are faced with the impact of both the pandemic and the transition to the CTRI accreditation. During a year where many centers could not operate at full capacity, the association continued to make progress towards the external accreditation of our Certified Therapeutic Riding Instructor title. More than 3,600 registered level instructors have transitioned to the CTRI, and more than 100 new CTRIs have successfully completed the certification process. Brett Masiak, Director of Credentialing, will also report more on this later in the meeting. PATH International has also partnered with the Temple Grandin Equine Center on an initiative to collect and measure outcomes data on therapeutic riding. The focus of this initiative is to demonstrate and promote the impact of therapeutic riding through a designed data collection process and research. Moving forward with research in the area with a very important partner there. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to have served as the president of the Board of Trustees for this amazing association. These last 2 years have gone unbelievably fast. We've faced many challenges and we've had many successes. I am very proud and very honored to have had this opportunity. And thank each and every one of you for your continued support of PATH International. And for those of you who have considered volunteering for a committee, but you just haven't taken that step yet, I encourage you to do it. It is well worth your time and your attention to invest in this association. So please step up, be a part of it. The next slide. Oh, now we get to do something fun. The PATH International President's Award is decided upon and given by the Board of Trustees president to an individual or group of individuals who have, with enthusiasm and dedication, supported the president and endeavored to bring about the success of the association's strategic initiatives. This year, that award is going to an individual who doesn't make a lot of noise, just goes about getting things done. Whatever is needed, he's there and willing to not only pitch in and help, but to provide the volunteer leadership and organizational skills that an association like this depends on so heavily. I am so proud to be able to name Bill Lavin to this year's award. A little about Bill. He holds bachelor and master's degrees of education, a Juris Doctorate, and is a state certified mediator. He is the former owner and president of Mediation Conflict Resolution Specialists Incorporated and a retired regional instructor for the Becker CPA review courses. And he's a teacher. As a senior faculty member, he taught MBA graduate courses in the Northeast Ohio area. In addition to being a lawyer, a mediator, a teacher, and an all-around nice guy, he has, over the last 23 years, volunteered his time and talents to PATH International in a variety of ways. Just a few of the ways he has served this organization are: he started volunteering at Fieldstone Farm Therapeutic Writing Center in 1998. He became a registered therapeutic writing instructor in 2004 and is currently a CTRI. He served as the Ohio State Chair for 5 years. He served as the Region 4 representative for 2 years. And I didn't specifically check my facts, but if I remember correctly, I believe during his term, Region 4 put on that excellent conference we had in Cleveland. And he has also served on several other Region 4 committees. He has served as the chair of the Membership Outreach Committee, and he currently serves as a lead site visitor. And if all of that wasn't enough, as we embarked on the task of obtaining an external accreditation for our Certified Therapeutic Writing Instructor title, Bill stepped up as the initial chair of the PATH International Credentialing Council and currently serves as the vice chair. It is impossible to express how important his dedication and leadership to that task has been in making the CTRI transition possible. And of course, he is here today in support of the 2021 PATH International meeting and to celebrate our annual awards ceremony. Unfortunately, due to our restrictions on the way we have to conduct this meeting, we can't bring Bill online. But however, Bill, if you would like to put something in the chat, it will be shared with the rest of the meeting. And congratulations, Bill. Thank you so much for all you do. Okay, well, we will, if Bill types something in, we will come back to that. Now I would like to introduce Brandon Momany, our Governance Committee Chair, with the annual report and election results.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you everyone else for joining us today. I'll echo Sue's sentiments about looking forward to the next time we can see everyone in person. So next slide, please. So I'm going to report on the governance report and the election results and the voting process for the trustees and the region representatives. All votes are received and recorded at the administrative offices of PATH International, located in Westminster, Colorado. The ballots were distributed by August 30th and returned no later than September 30th. Then the CEO, Kathy Alm, and 2 of PATH International staff, Kendall Berger, Membership and Education Manager, and Amanda Walters, Credentialing Events Coordinator, managed that process. And the results were certified to the existing and elected trustees within 10 days of the count, which this year occurred on October 1st, 2021. Next slide, please. And we would like to welcome the 2 new trustees that have come out of that process. Dr. Ashley Phelps Dunn and Aviva Vincent. Ashley is a multifaceted leader who brings extensive knowledge of small and large animal veterinarian medicine, a strong business acumen, and a sound cross-functional communication style that will benefit PATH International and its members. Aviva is a director of program quality at Fieldstone Farm Therapeutic Writing Center in Ohio and holds a PhD and is a licensed master social worker. Most recently, she was the region representative for Region 4. Next slide. And this year, the odd-numbered regions voted on their region representatives. So I'm pleased to congratulate and also to thank Sarah Brunson in Region 1, Sherry Moore, Region 3, Missy Lamont, Region 5. Next slide. Dion Newton, Region 7, Karen Tonchik, Region 9, Courtney Malore, Region 11. So congratulations and thank you both to the trustees that are newly joining the board, as well as the region reps. We greatly appreciate your willingness to step up and step in and get involved. And with that concludes the governance report, and I'll introduce Ed Milford, who is the PATH International Treasurer and Finance Chair, to give the Treasurer's report.
Thanks, Brandon. Hello, everyone, and hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us. It is my pleasure to have served as your treasurer this past year. And it's really my pleasure to present the financial results of PATH International for this past fiscal period. So when we're talking fiscal period, we're talking covering two calendar years. So our fiscal period starts, as many of you may know, from July 1st through the end of June of the next year. So we're looking at July 2020 through June 2021. And I am really pleased that we've gone through a challenging year, and our financial statements, as audited by our external auditors, Altruic Advisors, has presented us with a what I like to call a clean audit report. We have no deficiencies in or issues really noted by them, or any deficiencies in our internal controls. Now, our internal controls are those checks and balances within our systems to make sure our financial statements are accurate and presented completely and fairly in accordance with what we call generally accepted accounting principles. Our audited financial statements will be available for you after this meeting. Another important document really for all nonprofit organizations, particularly if you have contributions and funds of $50,000 and more, you're required to present or file what is called a 990 tax return. Now, depending upon your size of your nonprofit organization, it's different forms. So our form is the most complicated one and the longest one, which is a 990. There are other ones, 990EZ, 990N, but ours is the most complicated one. And I'm pleased to tell you that's going to be available mid-December. And I encourage everyone to go and look at our 990. It's a lot of great information. A lot of information went into it. It is a public document. So anyone from the public can actually go on the IRS website and look up PATH International. In fact, one of the things I did when I joined the organization. So great document to take a look at, know what's going on in the organization, at least as it relates to its financial information, and different programs that are going on, and many of you know those. Next slide, please. So this slide here is really a good snapshot and summary, and what it shows you is our revenue, our expenses, as well as what is called our net assets. So our assets are basically those things we own as an organization, and a big chunk of our assets, more than 50% of that, is tied up in cash, which is a good thing to be tied up in. So So it's really good information here to look at. So, you think of your own personal situation. So some of your assets would be cash in your checking account, or if you own property, vehicle, those are assets, and we have those type of assets as relates to cash and some other items that's not listed here. And you can see that in our financial statements. But you can see here that our net assets grew to $1.2 million, or $1,234,113, 18% over the previous fiscal year. Really good growth. Part of that growth also came about through us getting a forgivable loan, primarily due to the pandemic. That loan is called a PPP loan, or Payroll Protection Program loan by the government. If you meet certain qualifications, you get forgiven. So my hat's off to Kathy and her team for having the insight and the ability to put together a good, strong argument why that loan was important, and we were able to get it. And for that fiscal year that just ended, it was forgiven. So great kudos to Kathy and her team again, and the support from this Board of Trustees. So we had a gain that grew over the previous fiscal period of almost $100,000, a big chunk of that coming from the forgiveness of that loan. But we also, as you can see, managed our expenses very well. Now, we didn't have certain things that we would have typically, like a conference, and those expenses are not there, and we did something virtually. But again, very good management of our expenses, and you'll also see our liabilities really haven't grown that much, and liabilities are made up of accruals and things of that nature. So when I mean accruals, at the end of a period, you've got to account for certain types of expenses that are going to hit in the next fiscal period. So really good, strong results here. Next slide, please. So here, this slide here is really just a simple pie of how we slice up our revenue. And you can see a good chunk of that comes from you, from the members, 46%. That's actually, given the mix of our membership through us changing our membership structure, that's really good that we continue to see that kind of revenue growth. But we had other areas that grew as well. So our credentialing, 19%, other programs and grants, 15%, education, very important at 13%. So that's our sources of revenue, and really just good, solid, stable growth. And again, we've got that benefit of the PPP loan that helped us out as well from a revenue perspective. Next slide, please. So how do we spend our money? And we've done a really good job managing our resources. So you see 15% to administrative expenses. Actually, we're what we call best in class or best practice with respect to how we manage and spend our resources. More than 85% of that is going towards our programs, which is a good, strong place to be from a benchmark perspective. 14% membership. I think as an organization and you as members, you've got to look at the money we're spending on credentialing, education, as well as membership, and a lot of different things go into that membership. But you got to look at that together, because that's all about you as members of the organization. So good, effective management of our resources there. Next slide. So this is a simple chart just showing the steady growth, and what it really talks about is stability. Stability in our financial situation as an organization, and you do want to see that strong, stable growth as an organization. And I can tell you, I'm on the board of a few other nonprofit organizations that really don't see this kind of stable growth and stability. And really, this helps you and positions you for the future and for the next year. And these reserves are very important, as we've seen through this pandemic. So not having these funds available and hitting a pandemic becomes particularly challenging to meet and to achieve and focus on those things that are important, which are really serving you as members. Next slide, please. So just kind of, some takeaways and things to think about as we go forward. I think we're in a really good, strong, stable and healthy position as an organization, due in part to good, strong management by Kathy and her team, due in part from your continued support of this organization, and due in part to the fact that we were able to capitalize on getting the PPP loan and having it forgiven, more importantly. We've got a strong net asset position and look to continue to grow on that. We do a great job managing our resources and how we allocate our resources, as I've just shown you in our little pie chart of expenses. we're best in class when it comes to spending our resources. So that's a good thing. And more importantly, and this is important as folks look at our 990 and our financial statements, we've got the blessing of our external auditors that we are, one, managing our resources according to what is called generally accepted accounting principles. And those are the principles on how you present your financial statements. And I am really pleased and really grateful that we have really good, strong controls, starting with this Board of Trustees right on down to Kathy and her team, and external parties like our external auditors that come in and take a look at our financial statements and really give us the opportunity to sleep well at night. So that's the Treasurer's report. Thanks for listening to me, and thanks for your support of this organization. Then I'm going to turn over to Kathy Elm, our CEO, who's done a tremendous job. And thank you, Kathy, for your great leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed. And thank you to all of the trustees for your great leadership and giving of your time and expertise. And I also want to give a shout out to the staff of PATH International, who particularly over the last 18 months have worked very hard on behalf of the membership and our certificates in trying to be responsive and helpful as we navigate the impact of the pandemic and also navigate the various changes. So it does take a village. I suppose that's a little bit of a trite statement at this point, but it does take a village, and I am so proud to be the CEO and so grateful to have you as my village. Next slide, please. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on the state of PATH International and what we've been working on, what we've been doing in the past year, where our focus has been. Last year, there continued to be a focus on COVID-19 and its impact on all of you, on our certificates, and we focused very hard on responding to that and assisting members and credentialed professionals to navigate all of the changes and the challenges. Sue already mentioned the specifics that are listed on this slide, and I just want to let you know that we are continuing with that focus, primarily with the Path Forward Bulletin and reworking our accreditation process to allow for the ongoing impact of COVID-19. Next slide. This is not new to any of you. Everything went virtual during the pandemic. One of the silver linings is it provided numerous opportunities for me to present about PATH International and equine assisted services. You see a list on your screen. I'm not going to read through all of them, but the fact that everything went virtual meant that I received a lot more invitations to educate people about PATH International and equine assisted services. Interestingly enough, my first in-person conference was for HEDI in South Korea. I don't necessarily recommend traveling internationally when there's pandemic still going on, but I'm really glad I went. I had a great opportunity to meet and talk with many people from around the world and represent you, the membership, and our credentialed professionals. I also had an opportunity to be in person at the Region 8 conference this year. That was the one and only region conference that was able to go in person this year. I am fingers and toes crossed that we will be together again in person starting next year. And I just got back from the Horses and Humans Research Foundation conference last weekend in North Carolina, where I also had the opportunity to do some center visits. I always love getting out there and talking directly to you, our members, and our credentialed professionals, and hear directly from you on what is going well and what any challenges you have and how PATH International might help. Next slide, please. The consensus document on optimal terminology, our progress, and an update. As I hope all of you know at this point, we had the consensus document published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine. We have, since we've published that document, we have been educating. We've been educating members, credentialed professionals. We've been educating externally. We've been trying to educate media, working to get the word out far and wide about this consensus on terminology to start solving the problems that we have been experiencing about research using different words to mean the same thing, and about the public not understanding what kind of service they are receiving. We're in process of developing a one sheet that will go to centers as a center benefit that you can utilize for your participants so they can better understand what service they're receiving and or what service they are asking for. I've done lots of presentations on terminology, always happy to talk about terminology. That was a labor of love on my part for the previous 2 years. So if at any point you would like to hear me speak and talk about the terminology for clarification, I am open and available, particularly virtually. And so our next steps, the original terminology work group is reconvening, and we are starting to work on a broader education plan to continue to educate the public and the media, and we'll continue to educate our members and our credentialed professionals and explore, as well as explore what might need to be expanded for the terminology. Next slide, please. Yes, a new website. Yes, launching soon. Okay, do I wish I could tell you what date it's going to be launching? Absolutely. And all I can tell you is we're getting very close. Close enough that the staff and some of our members will be able to start testing it in the next few weeks. And close enough, depending on how that testing goes, to say, it'll either be an early holiday present for everyone, or it'll be right after the first of the year. But I am very excited. I've been very excited at the consultants that we have been working with, and the staff has been working very hard to try to make this website more user-friendly, where you can find things and much more easily to navigate. And we also have to make it connect and communicate with our new database. So all of that is still going on, but as I said, it'll either be an early holiday present for everybody, or it'll be right after the first of the year. Next slide. I would now like to welcome to the small screen our Director of Credentialing, Brett Masiak, who's going to give an update on the Trek to Accreditation for CTRI, as well as the CTR process itself. Brett?
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you, all of you, for joining us today. It is my pleasure to share some updates about PATH International credentialing activities over the last year. I think is no secret, establishing accreditation of the PATH International Certified Therapeutic Riding Instructor, or CTRI, certification program. That's been a big focus for PATH International. We continue to pursue accreditation of that program by the National Council of Certifying Agencies, or NCCA. The CTRI program definitely gained a great deal of momentum in the last year, even despite the pandemic. To date, we have received a total of 301 applications. 177 of those were approved, and we currently have around 30 more currently under review. 104 candidates in total have completed the full process, including the proctored exam, which is delivered at authorized testing sites. And 23 more candidates are scheduled to complete that proctored exam by December 12th. Given this level of participation, we have accrued sufficient data to provide a comprehensive report describing the validity of the CTRI credentialing process to the level of expectations of the National Council of Certifying Agencies. It's been a long time coming, gathering that data and making sure that we can give them a full snapshot as they require. Since we now have that data and we can provide that description, we will be submitting our application for accreditation to NCCA this coming January. And this is no small task because in addition to all of the standards for accreditation, they require or they have requiring good practices, correct reporting, both financial as well as reporting on job task analyses and whatnot. There are many elements, many documents that we have to provide to them. And as part of the certification process, there are several components that go into describing the competency of CTRI applicants. Between the application and certification exam, all of these elements work together to measure the overall competency of CTRI candidates. No singular part of the application can alone measure competency of a candidate, and truly all 5 parts of the application provide only a gauge of their preparation to effectively and safely perform the job of a CTRI. So it is ultimately the certification exam that is designed to statistically validate the candidate's knowledge, skill, and ability to effectively and safely deliver therapeutic writing lessons. We look forward to the CTRI program continuing to grow and seeing more newly certified instructors enter the EAS workforce to support centers in rebuilding and expanding their programs in the coming year. As part of ongoing assessment and maintenance of the CTRI credentialing process, a survey will be forthcoming to gather information about how CTRI certificates are integrating into the field of EAS. So through the survey, we'll be looking to gain an understanding of how centers, employers, and CTRI credential holders view the preparation and performance of newly certified CTRIs. And we'll be looking at that information particularly in comparison to instructors who were certified through the registered TRI on-site certification process. And this will provide us with very valuable insight into the effectiveness of the CTRI certification program prior to when we conduct our next formal job task analysis in 2025. So keep an eye out for that survey. That will be very rigorously designed, so it will take us a little bit more time to get that prepared, but when it is out, we look forward to receiving an abundance of responses to that so we can really have a good idea of how CTRIs are performing in the field. The PATH International Credentialing Council will continue to focus largely on support and initial maintenance of the CTRI program in the coming year. Still considered a young certification program, so there is a great deal of support and maintenance that goes into it at this point. But that will be the focus of the Credentialing Council, and our standing volunteer certification subcommittees will continue their work on all of the other PATH International certification programs in 2022. We will soon be announcing the positions that will be open for the subcommittees in 2022, so keep an eye out for that announcement if you're interested in submitting an application to join the subcommittee. As Sue said earlier, it's very enjoyable. Most people find there is a level of commitment. We do ask for a lot of engagement from our volunteer subcommittees because it is so important to hear from all of the members and get the representation of the membership. But we do always encourage you to submit an application to join the subcommittee if you're interested in being a part of the development of the certification programs. The period for Credentialing Council nominations has now closed, and the election for the membership to vote on new Credentialing Council members will open November 15th. So again, there will be an announcement of that ballot when it is released, and we are looking forward to another strong turnout for that election and increasing then the number of active Credentialing Council members. In this last year, too, PATH International has increased engagement as a member of the Professional Certification Coalition, or the PCC. The PCC is a nonprofit association founded in 2018 by the Institute for Credentialing Excellence and the American Society of Association Executives. The coalition is designed to address efforts to enact state legislation that could potentially undermine the activities or recognition of certifications developed by private certification organizations such as PATH International. And the PCC, their primary goal is not only to monitor that legislation, but then also advance the best interests of those who use or rely on professional certification. So that includes employers and reimbursers and the general public, but also, of course, the interests of the individual professionals themselves who are seeking or achieving professional certification. To those ends, I recently participated in a virtual legislative fly-in on behalf of the PCC. And the goal of that was to educate state representatives and senators about two bills in particular that have been designed to aid in pandemic recovery. These two bills are called the Freedom to Invest in Tomorrow's Workforce Act and the Resources and Education to Build or Rebuild Skills Act. And both of these bills would ultimately open avenues for financial support for individuals seeking professional certification. So it expands the uses for 529 savings accounts, for examples, as well as potential scholarships for individuals seeking certification. So as part of the fly-in, we were aiming to increase support of these two bills in both the House and the Senate so that they can be enacted in the coming year and actively contribute to a workforce resurgent in the wake of the pandemic. And we're hoping to have that that resurgence also happening here in our field of EAS. We will provide more information to the membership about those bills as they advance through the legislative process. And once we have solidified how they may end up opening funding specifically for PATH International certification candidates. In the meantime, there is a handout available to you in the handout sections with a synopsis of those two bills. And if you have any questions about those bills or how you may potentially be able to show your support for those bills, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and I'd be happy to talk with you more. That is my report for credentialing. With that, I'd like to turn the floor back over to Kathy.
Thank you, Brett. Appreciate all of the update on credentialing. And I, in turn, would like to bring Ed Milford back to share the diversity, equity, and inclusion work that has been done. Next slide.
So thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Brett. And I would just tell you, if you didn't catch the panel discussion this morning, you really missed out a lot on the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was just really a great session. Nicole and Haley just did a great job moderating it, and thank you to our panels who participated. I learned a lot just listening in on that panel discussion. And then I think Sue did a great update just to let you know what we're currently doing with respect to DEI, and I'm going to give you a really top level update on a couple of things. Before I start that, I just want to thank you as members, your volunteers, and the great work you're doing out there on behalf of PATH and what you share and how important that is. And I think back of my own personal situation where I have a nephew who has autism and a brother who fought in Vietnam. And if I knew about PATH years ago, what an impact that would have made on their lives. So this whole DEI thing is really, really important. It's about sharing such an important thing we do as an organization and as an association to those who don't know about what we offer and what equines can really make a big difference in individuals' lives. So with that said, I'll just talk a little bit about first the racial diversity and equity and inclusion work group. It was assembled over a year ago, really an esteemed set of individuals with a high level of expertise in DEI. The main objective initially was to help develop a plan. I just want to be honest with individuals. And then we realized as we started getting into the work we were doing, it's really some great work, some great ideas that came out of our work and some great learning. We realized that we needed to take a step back and make sure that we educate our board of trustees, and make sure they understood what DEI was all about and what impact it can have on our organization. So as Sue pointed out, we put a lot of training into our board. We brought on a consultant to help steer us and guide us, particularly with respect to our vision, which I'll share with you in a few minutes. And really, that opened our eyes and really solidified how important this whole DEI topic is to us. That training allowed us to do the vision, which we'll talk about in a second, and really set some high-level goals. And we drafted some working objectives, 11 of them, and we'll continue to evolve those. And then ultimately, we're going to get the staff and the RDI, EI, easy for me to say, RDI, I group together to work on those action plans. So next slide. Let's take a look at our vision. And I'm really proud of this vision. I'll read it to you, and you'll have this here. But PATH International believes in an inherent worth and dignity of every person and recognizes their historical and current lack of diversity within the equine assisted services industry. We commit to increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and leading by example within the equine assisted services industry, and expanding access and opportunity for all people. I mean, that's a really powerful statement, and it's a vision. I mean, it's something it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you continually work at. We will provide education and resources and collaborate with marginalized and or underrepresented people and communities while actively seeking representation from those communities for our governing Board of Trustees, staff members, certificates, and volunteers. Very important that we do this, and it really starts with us making sure that our staff, our board, our members, and all of us are really educated around this topic, and we're reaching out to other organizations. Next slide. So to help achieve that vision, we've developed high-level goals. Now, under each one of these goals is a set of objectives, and then those objectives will be achieved through actions that the staff and our RDIE I team will help develop and put together. But here are those goals. PATH International commits to diversity, equity, inclusion within its programs to expand access and engagement and participation. Quite simply, we're looking to bring more folks into our fold. We're looking to look at how we put together our programs, how we put together our materials, and make that representative of those folks we want to bring into our organization. Goal number 2, PATH International builds relationships, increases collaboration within both internal, external individuals, groups regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. We want to work with more groups. We want to bring those groups together that allows us to bring more folks into our organization so we are more diversified and more inclusive of other individuals. Goal number 3, PATH International invests in, develops organizational practices to ensure its staff, board, volunteers, leaders, cultures reflect a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? That's about us learning more, looking at our internal practices, but more importantly, putting our money where our mouth is. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to just loosely throw around money. That means we're going to be really specific and strategic in how we invest in making this organization a more inclusive, diverse, and equitable organization. Those are our 3 goals. As I mentioned, there are objectives that we're drafting, workable objectives that will continue to evolve, and that will be supported by a set of actions that will allow us to really achieve our vision in the end. Next slide. Next slide. There we go. So we're going to be developing those actions. That's going to be really supported and led by our staff and supported by our work group. And then the ultimate goal is to make sure that we're executing over that, on those actions to live up to and achieve our vision and ultimately accomplish our objectives and goals. So thank you for this opportunity to share that with you. And I look forward to continue to support PATH on this really important endeavor. And with that, I am going to turn it over to our next speaker, who I don't know who that is.
That would be Ross.
Oh, that's Ross. Sorry, Ross. There's my mentor, Ross. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Ed. And thanks to everybody who has joined us for our annual membership business meeting. And thanks to all of you for what you do at home. So, board officers, all of the members elect the trustees, and the trustees elect the board officers. So it is the responsibility of the PATH International immediate past president to convene a nominating committee and propose a slate of officers for approval by the full board. The bylaws state the committee should include a trustee who is not eligible to serve as an officer due to term limits or who is not interested in an officer position. So with that in mind, outgoing President Sue Becklenberg generously accepted the request to serve in that position. As CEO, Kathy Alm serves on the committee as a non-voting member. And next slide, please. And we can roll this out. At our September board meeting, trustees elected the following officers: President Ed Milford, Treasurer Scott Carver, Secretary Jessica Normand, past president is Sue Becklenberg, and our officer at large is Brandon Montminy. And PATH International is more than fortunate to have superb leaders on our governance team. There are 15 dedicated and talented trustees receiving support and guidance from a dedicated and talented staff, and further supported by many of you, our wonderfully dedicated and talented volunteer leadership on our committees, our councils, our work groups, and our task forces. So with pleasure, all of my thanks. These officers will take their positions immediately at the close of this meeting. And now it is appreciation time. Next slide, please. So thank you, Sue. What an honor and what a delightful pleasure to express thanks from everyone with PATH International to our outgoing president, Susan Becklenberg. Sue and I go back a ways, and we enjoyed working together on a number of accreditation site visits. And that was before she joined the board, and we had plenty of time for passionate PATH International discussions as we drove together visiting centers and helping them achieve prestigious premier accreditation. It's exciting to welcome Susan to join me in the joyous Past Presidents Club. During her term at the helm, and as we all wrestled with the challenges of COVID, she courageously led the PATH International Board and worked closely with Kathy Alm to conquer the issues, provide guidance for members, and proceed better than ever. Due to COVID, Sue has not had the fun opportunity as president to address you all in person at the last two conferences and annual meetings. So, Sue, I look forward to somehow embarrassing you on stage at the October 2022 conference in St. Louis. So a little more, Sue's dedication, her talented leadership provided exactly what we needed to utilize the important work of our Racial Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Work Group, and then move forward with a strategic DEI plan. With Sue's continued guidance as immediate past president, we will improve diversity, equity, and inclusion for our organization, for PATH International members, for the equine assisted services community, and for our partners and friends. Part of Sue's legacy is the exciting ability for PATH International to enthusiastically implement that strategic DEI plan. So, consistent with the challenges of the time, Sue received a package in the mail with a wrapped gift representing our enormous thanks. The instructions were, of course, there we go, Sue, thank you, to not open the package until the right time at the PATH International annual meeting. So, Sue, with profound thanks from our Board of Trustees and absolutely everybody at PATH International, it is now time for you to open your thank you gift.
Okay. And you all need to know, first of all, if I had the kind of self-control with food that it took not to open this for 2 weeks, I would not need to be on a diet. And I'm also so looking forward to St. Louis. Ross, all I can tell you is if you want to embarrass me on stage, take your best shot, buddy. Oh, it is a beautiful PATH International jacket. I will wear it until it literally falls apart. Thank you guys so much. I have so enjoyed thank you. I have so enjoyed being president of this board. It has been a really challenging 2 years, but it has been well worth every minute I have invested. I will repeat what I said earlier. Please, if you're thinking about getting involved, do it. Take a step, volunteer for a committee. It's what makes this association what it are the people that are involved. This is an amazing board. If you're on the board, you have also served at some point in time as a committee. That's how you get started. So please don't hesitate, do it. Now I get to say a thank you. And it is a really personal one because yes, Ross and I have been good friends for a long time, lots of windshield time. He is the one that got me involved in PATH committees to start with. We had some really interesting, my profession was in finance, so we had some really interesting financial discussions when we first started doing windshield time together. He has served for 11 years on this board. That is a long time commitment. And I know, although he is now stepping down as past president, he's not going to go away. We're going to keep him involved somewhere, some way, sometime. He's way too valuable to just let him fade into the background. Thank you, Ross. Thank you for, like Ed said, thank you for your mentorship. You were one of my mentors too, and it is much appreciated. So everybody, thanks Ross for all of his service and his future service.
And Sue, I
Thank
forgot,
you, Sue.
I forgot
Yes.
to mention to you that I hand delivered his plaque.
Oh, yes, I should be handing him a plaque. There you go. He got to open his plaque. I had to wait.
Well, thank you, Sue. And these 11 years have been some of the best years of my life. And you're absolutely right. I'm not going away. Operational now, and we'll enjoy every minute of that as well. Thanks, Sue.
Wonderful.
And thank you, everybody.
And so we're a little bit over time from where we expected to be. I would now ask for a motion to adjourn the annual meeting.
Kim will motion to adjourn the annual meeting.
Way to hang in there for me, Kim. I love it. All right, and we will be starting our annual awards ceremony at noon Mountain Time. I'm on Central Time, so it's in about 10 minutes. Bring your Kleenexes. I have to bring mine. I am a big softie. I don't have any anticipation that I will get through it without choking up at some point, but it's great fun. Don't go away. Please join us in about 10 minutes for our awards ceremonies.